People who actually dressed up as a creepy clown during the 2016 clown sightings. Why did you do it? My brother actually did it. He dressed up as one and sat in a forest in our town. I ran into him, not knowing it was his hobby, and was scared shitless. I just asked him this and he said, because our town is full of shish heads and I want to scare them. That's my brother for ya. I love that you referred to it as a hobby. I didn't dress up as one. But my neighborhood was covered in them for about 2 weeks. I lived in a neighborhood that was right on the edge of a sketchy area. So I was used to some interesting characters. But these effers scared the living shish out of me. I let a friend and her 2 kids going through a rough time move in with me prior to this. And I was watching them for her while she was at work. The daughter, 4, and I were in the kitchen while I was cooking dinner and the baby was asleep. We'd seen the clowns a few times at the end of the road under a streetlight that was blinking. But they never got that close to the house. But I was already on high alert because of it. I was cutting veggies and there was a window directly in front of me. And I hadn't been looking out of it, but I felt someone staring at me. I look up. And like something out of a effing horror movie, that clown is staring up at me from my driveway like 6 inches from my window. I had a giant knife in my hand and I tried not to lose it because I didn't want to scare Cammy, friend's kid. So I kind of just held up the knife and stood right where I was and stared back. This motherfucker never moved. He just stayed right where he was for several minutes. I backed up and got my gun out of the case and called 911. They never found him, but it scared the living shish out of me and I was a nervous wreck having those kids by myself that night. F those clowns. Me and my friends tried to because we lived in a small town and nothing interesting happened there. But turns out a group of 13-year-old girls running around with shish tie white face paint. All black clothes and red wigs we got for $1 isn't very scary. All that happened is we got grounded. All that happened is we got grounded. The scariest outcome. Or worse. Expelled. I didn't dress up as one. But was a cop in a city that had this happen a few times a week. Between responding to creepy clown calls, multiple stabbings, assaults, attempted murder accusations with the clowns as the victim, and the Pokémon Go trespassers, prowlers, it was a really weird and uncomfortable 6 months or so. 2016 was a weird effing summer. We don't talk about 2016. The summer of 2016 never really ended. I asked a friend. He said it was just payday cosplay. Runs up to a stranger. Screams, "I need a effing medic bag." I dressed up as a creepy clown for Halloween. And a bunch of drunk frat guys drove past me. Slammed their brakes. And threatened to beat the shish out me. I've never been more scared in my life. https://imager.com hdx3lhi. LMAO, I made an app for that called Clown Spotter and it paid for my university tuition. Full story? Me and a group of friends online decided to make the app on our free time and it blew up. We added ads to it. Got a lot in revenue and after splitting it between team members it was enough to pay for my entire university tuition. Yes. All 4 years of it. The online friends were people I never saw and were from around the world. About this time of year, nearly Halloween but not too spooky yet, was homecoming for the local high school. I was at my boyfriend's house and his younger sister had a bunch of people over after the dance. They were all hanging out upstairs. I knew they were the type to scare easy. So I hatched a plan. I did some shopping at Walmart. Picked up a purge mask and some face paint. Along with the classic rainbow puffy hair clowns have. I painted the mask to look like a clown. Donned the wig. And just used a black hoodie. With help from his parents. I acquired a ladder and crawled up onto the porch roof. Just outside her window. And banged on the siding while leaning to the window. Poor friend was the first to see me. Let out a shrieking clown. And basically it was around 7 girls that sounded like they were getting murdered. I took off the mask when one came at the window with a hammer and they have not trusted me since. Doesn't help that after the first IT remake, I put a red balloon in her room. Holy F, you're evil. The girl who ran at you with a hammer. That is courage. She's the one you want. I remember when this was happening. Facebook posts came out about someone dressed as a clown on my road. I lived on a kinda secluded road. So the rednecks in the area wanted to go hunting, I'm assuming because they were such big strong men, to hunt down a supposed child prankster. Well, it turns out the clown was a mentally ill man that ran off in the woods and had been missing for like 3 days. And to make matters worse, the caretaker for the man never made a missing persons report for the man. What happened to the man? All I know was the police were called on the clown by the highway intersection. A bunch showed up. But then they discovered what he really was. They took him to the hospital. The local news say he was relocated to another home. But I don't know for sure what happened to the caretaker. I'm a high school teacher and it was the only way I could be AD to teenagers without any consequences. That's probably the only legitimate reason to do it I've seen. Teenagers are such eye-holes. As a former teenager, can confirm this comment. You're a Scooby-Doo villain. My friend did it. He looked into windows to creep out whoever was inside. And the moral for him was to never climb 2-story houses. Technically I did it in 2014. I worked for Warner Brothers as an intern. I answered an ad I saw on my way to work through the lot for a marketing campaign. But they were oddly vague about what it was for except for viral marketing. I now assume it was for IT. I had been a creepy clown for Halloween 5 years earlier and still had the costume, and they offered me $100 per a day I did it. I had to be photographed at least once and put on social media to get paid. It actually was really fun. Kind of like working in a haunted house. Though I learned to mostly go for teenagers. Much younger and they would be too scared. Much older and they couldn't take the joke and would be angry. I did it 3 times in total. But only got paid for the first 2 times. Mainly in Santa Monica and Venice Beach. I have no idea if the 2016 people were part of the same campaign or maybe were inspired by the campaign, or if it was completely unrelated. I did sign a NDA. But hey, it's been 5 years and I really don't think they're coming after me or anything. Warner Brothers wants to know your location. I only did it once and it was to scare my friend while he was out walking his dog at about 11 p.m. I texted his mom earlier that day and asked if she could make him walk the dog late. And she did. I stood at the end of my driveway, which is about a quarter mile long and surrounded by thick woods on either side, so you couldn't see very far into it. I crouched behind the pad-mounted transformer box giggling like a little kid as I heard him approach. I waited for him to pass, then crept down the road behind him carefully as to not make any noise. After a minute of careful creeping I was right behind him, so I yelled and wrapped him up in a bear hug from behind. Let me tell you. He freaked the F out. He jumped about 3 feet up in the air and shrieked like a little girl. I went perfectly until I was tackled by his Great Dane and drowned in slobber. She recognized me when I took the mask off so I didn't get mauled. I love the effort people will put into effing with their friends. This is like a Scooby-Doo episode, lol. My friend did this because he's a tortured soul. He's currently unable to hang out until after 2 p.m. today because he's at a safety training for a haunted house that he's worked at the past couple of years. They must be ready to start back up for the season. Not me. But 2 people dressed up as clowns, and in our art room we have these large windows. And the 2 people dressed up as clowns jumped up at the windows and the school actually went on lockdown. The 2 clowns got arrested 15 minutes after. Not related to this. But interestingly enough, 2016 would have been the year Pennywise came back. That's a popular theory as to why the killer clown thing started. A few IT fans just having fun turned into hundreds of idiots running around causing chaos. Always thought it was some studio publicity stunt. It started as a dare. Then we became a group of 5 that would just roam around town from 2 to 6 a.m. since we worked and got off late. The town's police knew it was us and would joke around saying one day they might shoot us by accident. We stopped the day after. My neighborhood had 3 idiots dress up as clowns and try to scare anyone. First one got one eye cheek ripped by a dog. He almost bled to death. Second got shot and is thankfully alive. Though police had to put the shooting as self-defense. Third was beaten up by the neighborhood men as they thought he was a robber. This sounds very reasonable. My dog would have done the same if he thought I was in danger.